Soy Marina Croce Anduesa y les doy la más cordial bienvenida a Acento Musical. Acento Musical es un programa de entrevistas únicas a figuras contemporáneas de la música clásica, quienes están realizando aportes significativos al arte musical de sus países y áreas de influencia. Hoy tenemos el honor y privilegio de presentarles a la extraordinaria pianista venezolana, reconocida internacionalmente, Gabriela Montero, en un programa que hemos titulado Gabriela Montero en Easton. En este programa, Gabriela Montero nos presenta una de sus más recientes contribuciones al mundo de la música, una serie de conciertos que tienen lugar en el Teatro Ebenezer de la ciudad de Easton, Maryland, Estados Unidos. En esta serie de conciertos han invitado a prestigiosas figuras del escenario musical, permitiéndole a la audiencia que asiste tener una experiencia de concierto diferente, gracias al acogedor ambiente del teatro y a la magnífica relación que se establece entre artista y audiencia. Hoy veremos y escucharemos selecciones, concierto de apertura a la serie realizado por Gabriela. En una segunda parte de nuestro programa, Gabriela nos cuenta sobre su último reconocimiento, el haber sido nombrada Mujer Clásica del año 2023. Para culminar, tenemos a Gabriela dándonos detalles sobre su concierto latino, estrenado en el 2019 en la ciudad de Leipzig, en Alemania. Sin duda, este encuentro con Gabriela Montero va a ser una maravillosa experiencia para todos ustedes amantes de la música clásica. Aprovecho la oportunidad para invitarles a que se suscriban a Acento Musical y a que nos sigan en programas futuros. Gracias por estar con nosotros.
The reason why we chose Easton as a musical and also a family base is because not only is it's a beautiful historic town, but because in this place we found the opportunity of creating something similar to what, let's say, Marta Argerich has in Lugano or Menuhin had in Gstaad. It's a place connected to an artist. It's a place where you can create, where you can bring amazing artists to this place. And have let's say, a place where not only there's a real sense of community, but also a place where you can bring world-class music. Now, thanks to the wonderful, wonderful generosity of Mr. Paul Prager and his Blue Point Hospitality Group, in collaboration with the Orchestra of the Americas Group, we've been able to really make this like a musical haven in this part of the world, where normally you wouldn't have, the artists who perform in Carnegie Hall or, in all the great places like all of us do. You wouldn't have us, going to these very, very small, iconic towns. And this is a fantastic opportunity to bring the artists of the world to a little community that is not only a very, very special and very tight-knit community, but it's also becoming more and more known for its music and its arts and everything that's happening here. The first concert of my artist residency, which is called Gabriela Montero at Prager, was a recital that I gave, which is what I called my Westward recital. It's really a program devised around the idea of immigration, because as a Venezuelan, of course, I and 8 million Venezuelans who are now out of Venezuela have suffered the tragedy of being in exile, of not having a home. And this program, which I've played in New York, I've played in London, I've played all over the world, is very much a program that speaks about the journey of the immigrant, the loss and the suffering of the immigrant, And with the three composers, Stravinsky, Prokofiev, and Rachmaninoff, who themselves suffered in different ways exile, I'm able to then speak about what's happened in Venezuela. In the second part of the program, which I played here in my series, I do an improvisation to Charlie Chaplin's film, The Immigrant. So you have all of these, the visual cues in this genius film, and also the improvisatory act, let's say, that I'm known for. But at the same time, speaking of a very, very topical issue, which is the refugee, the immigrant, the reality of not having a home and what happens to us when we have to experience this. So it's a great program that not only has the musical context, but also has very much the human element of something that's very relevant today. It has been in the past, but today we're seeing it very much in different parts of the world, and Venezuela, unfortunately, is one of those countries that belongs to that group. Yeah. Uno de los momentos más espectaculares fue tener a la gran pianista Yuya Wang, quien es una superestrella en el mundo de las artes y de la música clásica. Y no solamente fue muy divertido tenerla aquí en casa nuestra, en Easton, por unos 3-4 días, montamos bicicleta, vimos películas, etcétera, sino también compartir escenario con ella. Y tocar la fantasía de Schubert que tocamos juntas, ¿no? El recital de ella fue fenomenal, como todo lo que ella hace. Y bueno, luego Paquito, a quien tuvimos aquí en abril, también un personaje único y un personaje maravilloso. Y nada, bueno, ha sido uno de los beneficios, digamos, de tener una serie de conciertos, es poder reunirme con amigos, con colegas y poder tener momentos musicales, pero también personales. Así que es una de las cosas que más adoro de toda esta experiencia. Con Vanessa, bueno, Vanessa Pérez es mi hermanita, es una de mis mejores amigas, si no mi mejor amiga, y es una niña que nos conocemos desde chiquiticas, tenemos muchísimas cosas en común. Y el recital de ella también fue absolutamente mágico, y poder terminar esta primera parte de la serie, la primera temporada con Vanessa como artista invitada fue sumamente especial para mí. In the series we also had Joshua Bell, that was in November. So Joshua and I gave a recital together. We played Frank, we played Beethoven, we played Debussy. And of course, he's a world star, and also to bring him here, not only to make music together, but also for him and his wife, who is a wonderful singer and who also sang in the series, to have the opportunity to get them to become acquainted with this little place and then speak about it in a very positive and loving way is I think one of the benefits of having this series. It's the way that Easton becomes known to the artistic community, and in that way it's let's say it's a reciprocal relationship of people coming here, loving this place, and then talking about it, and then bringing some more artists to discover it. Los encuentros musicales entre nosotros son, claro, dependiendo de la relación, ¿no? Y de la cercanía, de la amistad, pero siempre son, como con la mayoría de los colegas, son súper positivos y Yo creo que estamos en un momento donde todos queremos dar lo mejor de nosotros a través de la música, entendiendo que vivimos momentos difíciles como humanidad, ¿no? Y creo que intentamos aportar algo de felicidad, de paz, de profundidad con lo que hacemos. Y en estos encuentros hay muchas conversaciones sobre el rol del artista, de qué intentamos hacer, cuál es nuestra misión con la música. Así que son encuentros muy personales y significativos. We've come to see that it's a community that is really, really hungry for these kinds of experiences, for cultural experiences, and very, very grateful that instead of having to travel to New York or Philadelphia or go to DC to actually listen to their favorite artists, they're able to come to this very, very intimate 180-seat theater, which is a beautiful theater remodeled by Mr. Prager, and actually see their favorite artists and have this kind of intimate experience of just sitting. It's almost like a salon, like reproducing the 19th century experience of the artist in a salon setting. So that's a very, very special thing. I always mention, for example, Wigmore Hall in London, which is a small but iconic hall that we all play in, and that is probably one of the smallest places that we play in. And this is, I think, maybe a fourth of the size of Wigmore. So that's how small this little place is. But because it's so special, and because it's so intimate, I think it's unique. You don't have places like this. I mean, that where you would see, you know, these absolute world stars. My Gabriela Montero Piano Lab is actually an initiative that was born out of the pandemic, out of COVID. So my husband and I and my girls, we were in Barcelona for the whole lockdown, and of course that year there were basically no concerts. In the following year, so the artistic world, we all suffered not being able to actually perform as we do, and I have become more and more passionate about the idea of mentoring the younger generation. So we came up with this idea of having a piano lab that is an online mentorship program, but we also meet in different parts of the world for in-person classes. And Easton is one of the places that I like to hold 3-4 day master classes with my 9 fellows. The way that I audition these 9 pianists is there is, of course, there is a standard, there's a level, they have to be performing artists, and then I audition them. And I select 9 who are, they're very, very talented in their 20s. And my role with them is not only to coach them in the piano repertoire, etc., but also to offer advice. Since I have, you know, the career that I have, I can then tell them more or less what to expect or how to go about certain things. And well, that's the benefit of being older. I guess you're able to share your wisdoms and your experience with them and hopefully help them along the way, you know. Hay muchos, o sea, esta temporada que viene hay grandes artistas como la primera, pero también algunas sorpresitas. I was incredibly honored to be named Classical Woman of the Year by NPR and in the program Performance Today, which is the biggest classical music audience in the US and program. And I've known Fred Child and this wonderful team for many, many years because I used to be regularly interviewed by them, and they actually set up this this little show called, I think maybe it was called Sing It and Wing It, I think. So that was about 10 years ago. So somebody from you know the public would call in and give a theme, and then in studio in Washington at the NPR studios I would improvise on the theme. So this went on for a while. So it's a wonderful, of course, wonderful honor to be named that. And I know that there will be some programs and some interviews and a year of different kinds of not only broadcasting some of what happens here in Easton in my series, but also telling the audience what's going on in my performance year, etc. My Latin concerto, I wrote it in 2016, and it's unlike Expatria, which I wrote in 2011, which was a very overtly political piece about what's happened in Venezuela. The Latin concerto is more of a picture of not only the beautiful, soulful, melodic, fun elements of Latin America, which unfortunately it's the same characteristics that don't allow, let's say, the international crowd to really want to pay attention to the darker elements of what happens in our countries. It's not only a reflection on the wonderful things we have, but also on those shadows and those threatening currents, undercurrents that I think get in the way of us developing our potential as a continent. So it's a concerto I've played, all the way from playing it in Brazil. I've played it in Europe. I'm touring it now in October with Carlos Miguel Prieto and the Orquesta Sinfónica de Minería all over the U.S. I'm playing it now with the Chicago Symphony in just a couple of weeks. Played it with the Minnesota Symphony as well, with Dallas Symphony, with Marin Alsop. So it's a piece that I'm playing a lot, and it's a 32-minute concerto. Very complex, very virtuosic, but where you really feel, you really get this kind of rhythmical undertone of what drives the Latin American sounds and culture, which at times can seem quite brutal, but it's also, I find, a reflection again on our culture, on the dark and the light of our culture. It's a piece that I love to play. I think the orchestra also enjoys it very much. And at this time of my life, really kind of a lighter reference than Expatria on who we are as a people. Tengo un periodo de composición este año que necesito estoy escribiendo un quinteto para piano y cuerdas que tengo que entregar a principios del año que viene para el Gilmore Piano Festival. Estoy componiendo más y más, que es lo que quiero hacer, y también combinada con mi actividad como mentor y como docente. Y bueno, nada, tengo una agenda súper interesante en este próximo año y medio de conciertos. Toco en Italia ahorita, en Florencia, en Trento también en diciembre. Tengo un pequeño periodo nuevamente de composición. Bueno, un año que me espera de muchos conciertos, pero tratando de encontrar un balance más y más, porque yo creo que es importante poder satisfacer las diferentes partes de uno artísticas, pero también personales y humanas. Y eso es parte de lo que estoy buscando en este momento. Y espero algún día poder regresar a Venezuela, obviamente.